Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is the modification and upgrade edition of Build Your Own X-Ring from DeAgostini. This is what I've got so far. It's the first 2 issues. Now, obviously, I can't do anything with this yet. It's the main sort of cockpit base plate, but it gives you an idea as to the size and the scale of the kit's going to be. Obviously, that's the top bit, the canopy where he's going to sit in. So, yeah, it's going to be big, but again, can't really do anything with this until we get more into it. So we're left with the one of the quad cannons, one of the lasers, which again, until we get the other half of this together, we can't do any improved weathering or anything really on that. The inside piece, obviously we could improve seam lines and tidy up and make it all look nicer, but is there really any point? It's going to be locked up inside, so with a full cover over there. You can't see any of the inside of this at all, so I'm sort of loath to do anything with it that, you know, we know is not going to be seen. The detail on there is enough that we know there's something inside it. I'll be doing more on the outside that is obviously going to be visible, so again, I'm going to put that aside and not worry about doing anything with that. That one, again, until we get more of it together, there's not a lot more we can do. So we're left with R2 himself. Or the several parts of R2 that we've got so far. We've got a complete leg, a half leg, oh, a bit that I nearly got lost, the front of the body and the head, which has got a couple of additional bits on it, but not the clear pieces yet. So, and obviously the LED for it as well, which can't be fitted because that's got to go into this leg, and yeah. So really, again, there's not a great deal to be done on this so far. The one thing that I do want to do at the moment and this week is the dodgy seam line on the foot. Now that's, so it looks lovely from the side. It will need some weathering, but again, until the droid is complete, I can't really do very much with that. But I don't like this joint. This is pretty horrible, so I'll be tidying that up with some sprue glue. The bottom, again, I'm not too worried about, and might well be necessary for the hole is probably necessary for fitting into the astromech bay. The other thing that worries me a little bit about this is light blocking. Obviously the LED is going to be in the body here and shine up through the head, but it doesn't strike me as being very opaque. Lots of it, there's lots of areas, especially being white plastic, I think it's going to shine through. Now I'm especially worried about this because I have already got one from the second test run, which is basically a completed R2. As you can see, there's still the same problem with the seam lines on the leg. He's got a middle leg which is directly connected to his head, which is how that's going to be gripped inside the craft, and it will rotate. Now the head has got the same 3 bits, but it's also got the added colour pieces, a little red piece at the back there and a couple of clear pieces on the top. The legs do, or did, rotate a bit, but not really. He's designed to be fitted into the cockpit. Now with this previous test run, we did get a small battery pack and a little testing piece, which, as I say, gives us the making sure everything works. If I can get it lined up properly. It's not the best of contacts on this. There we go. So you can see his head lights up, but what you can't see, because the lights are on, let me turn the lights down low. It's still daytime, but there you go. You can see obviously that the entire body lights up. The head is actually okay. The head's fine, but the body obviously glows in the dark, which isn't ideal. A lot of it will be covered when he's mounted. The only time he lights up is obviously when he's in the bay, and he's covered up to about there, but it's still not right. We can do better. So knowing that that's going to be a problem, and having had a peek inside and see that it is basically exactly the same, I'm happy enough with the head, but I'm less than happy with the body. Again, there's some seam line down there. Can't do anything about that obviously until it's all together anyway, and I haven't got the back piece yet, and that leg doesn't want to go back on, but again, that's the least of my worries. So let me turn the lights back up. Lights up, yeah, there you go. So there will be some light blocking required on this, which I'm basically just going to cover the inside of it with black paint, a matte black paint. It worked fine with the full-size R2, the parts that needed some light blocking in the feet. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to do with that. Cover that black. I'm going to start by trying to fill this seam line and still make it look good. So let's get started on that. Basically, I can't do the other one yet, obviously, but I'll show you what I'm doing with this one, and you'll see it's the same with the other. Now, for that, I'm going to be using sprue glue, which is basically Tamiya extra thin with bits of polystyrene, bits of plastic, bits of model kit, bits of sprue in there, which makes a lovely white, because I used white plastic, gooey mess, which when it dries is plastic. So it's actually lovely. It's an ideal thing to use to do this sort of thing because it turns it into what it is already. As I say, the seam line on the inside is not a problem. I'm not going to touch that. It's literally just a bit, let me get a pointy stick, that runs perhaps from the top there down along across the bottom, why not, and up the other side. That's the only bit of seam that I'm worried about on there. So what I need to do is basically just get some of this and, as Ted would say, slap it on. When it's dried, which can take a day, we can worry about sanding it down, making it look more like it belongs, and any necessary repainting. As I say, this is white already, obviously, as you can see, mostly white. It's got a little bit of yellow in there for some reason, but so I won't need to fully repaint everything if I'm careful. But I say, when I'm doing the weathering on there as well, that should tidy that up. So that's basically all that I need to do. Get the lid back on that so I don't end up with just a block of plastic. Let's pull the other leg that conveniently keeps falling off from the original. Even before it dries, I think that looks a lot better. Let me give you a little bit of zoom. There you go. So yeah, instead of a gaping dark crevice, we've now got a built up plastic blob, which will sort of sink down a little bit into it as it dries. Might need to touch up the other side there a little bit, but we'll play with that when it dries and we'll see what we've got. What I'm going to do is quickly put that on a block, just so it's, I can't put it down anywhere else that's going to sort of drain, so I'll have that in the right sort of direction, and we'll leave that to dry and come back in a day and start doing some reshaping and tidying up of it. Right, as I've got the previous test issues, I might as well use them as a test pig just to make sure it is going to work as I intend it to on the full version. You can see, obviously, I've got a couple of extra bits to the other version because we've got the centre leg which connects directly up into the head and allows that to rotate when the foot's rotated by the mechanism inside the craft. So we don't need any of them. I'm not worrying about the seams on there, so it's these bits that I'm concerned about at the moment. So we've got the front and the back of R2, which has nice detail on it. I've not got a problem with the painting and the moulding, and everything else is good. It's just the feet seams really annoyed me. So they'll be going together. Obviously the light is attached through one foot and just sits at the side there, which is what that little collar piece is for. So that's, let's say, the source of the light. So let's get the inside of these painted in black and we'll see what difference it makes. I'm just using UMP black primer, which I'm just going to shake to bits and just get a blob out on my palette here. And then I'm just going to brush paint in the inside. Let's get that out of the way. I don't think I'll need any more of that. Just using you know, an old, very old, dodgy, cheap, free Humbrol brush actually. So yeah, just gonna slap it on on the inside, being careful obviously not to get to the outside, and aiming mainly to make sure I cover the thinner bits of plastic, like the corners, the seams, the joins. Not so worried about the thicker bits, because they're thicker bits, or the bottom, because again that's got the sort of skirt bit around there anyway. Might need another coat. We'll have a look and see. I don't need to go inside there. It was, as I say, mainly the top piece, obviously right next to the bulb, that was the problem. So we'll do that on that bit and do the same on the other. No neatness or anything required. You can see this is actually undercut on the back piece, so the outside bit has a seam on the inside. This has a seam on the outside, so there is a double layer on the join, which is a good thing, and should help prevent the seams lighting up, but for some reason the actual main body just isn't thick enough, or because they moulded it in white, it's a bit more transparent than any other colour basically. So let's get that covered in there. There we go, pretty happy with how that's covered in there. Leave that to dry. Touch up any areas that might need another layer. A couple of bits in there that look like they're not as dark as they should be. But once it's dry, we'll be able to see. Then I'll get it assembled again, and we'll see if the light's coming out like it was before. Paint's all dried in there. It looks like it's going to do the job. I'll get him back reassembled and see how it goes. I decided to cover the inside top piece as well, because that's obviously where the head sits over the top, so make sure that's masked properly, although it should be from the inside, but it doesn't hurt painting it. So I'm going to pop this back together and we'll see if it works. R2's back assembled together. I've dimmed the lights and we'll connect him up to the battery again and see what happens. Now that is looking a lot better. If I turn the lights out completely, you can actually still see quite a lot. I just pulled his other leg off as well. Obviously it does shine through the bit there, but that's obviously very light compensated. Even when there's a little bit of ambient light like that, all you can see is the head's lighting up where it should, with the red at the back. So I'm happy with that. On the actual one, I shall go a little bit heavier and pay more attention around the tops of the seams. But all in all, I'm quite happy with that. Let's see how the leg's getting on. Here it is. Let's turn the lights back up so we can see what we're doing. There we go. Now the sprue glue has dried and set and is looking much nicer. Let's get the old leg so we can compare them. Even, you know, initially you can see there's a definite difference there. So a little bit of fine shaping and sanding, and I'm pretty sure that's going to look fine. So I'll get that sanded down and we'll see how it looks. A little bit of sanding and reshaping in there, and that looks not too bad at all. It doesn't look perfect, but it's a darn sight better than the old one was. So that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do with the continuing leg improvement. When the other leg's built, I'll be doing the same thing on that. Then once it's weathered, you won't be able to see anything wrong with that at all. So that's that. And I think that's probably it for the modifications on this issue. I'll be doing the painting of the official one. Let's say it was the bonus issue, the test run that I did today. So yeah, once I've got the other half of that, I'll do both halves of that, and then yeah, we'll see onwards what else we can do. Thanks for watching. As ever, pop back and see more as time goes by, and I'll see you soon for the next issue. So bye bye.